Hi, welcome to another series of Cooking with ABN. My name is Ashley Beal and I'm a registered dietitian. If this is your first time watching, welcome. I have a whole library of cooking videos and tutorials that you're more than welcome to take a look at. For this new series, we're going to come with more recipes, more tips and tricks, and I was even able to have some special guests on to share some of their favorite recipes with us. For this first video back, I'm gonna share with you one of my favorite easy to put together meals. We're going to make a tortellini salad. It's similar to a pasta salad, but we use tortellini instead because it has a little bit of additional protein and it just helps to keep us fuller a little bit longer than maybe more standard pasta salads. Plus, tortellinis are delicious. For ingredients today, I'm going to keep it very simple. The best part about this recipe is that you can really make it your own. So I'm gonna show you a version of what I do today, and I'll share with you some other ideas in case you wanna swap out one of the ones that I'm using today, or just want to vary it up. First thing you'll need is some tortellini. I get the frozen tortellini because this is one of the meals that I like to have just in my kitchen for those busy nights or times when I don't have the energy to cook. So I like to get the frozen version, but you can also get whatever kind you usually use. Today I'm only cooking for two, so I have about a 1 pound bag of tortellini. If you're going to make multiples, it's so easy to double and even triple the recipe, and then you can have leftovers for later. So today I'm gonna show you with one bag, making about 2 servings, but feel free to double that if you'd like. For the other ingredients, I'm gonna stick with my theme of things that are shelf stable and can kind of just be in my kitchen at the ready. So I'm going to be using some marinated artichoke hearts, some sliced black olives. I like the pre-sliced and the pre-quartered kind because all I have to do is drain them from their container and pop them into my salad. I also got some jarred roasted red pepper. These I also got pre-cut. I've actually never seen the pre-cut version in a jar, so if you have those, go for it. Otherwise, they may be cut into quarters or halves, and then you can just slice them up yourself. One thing I'm gonna add to this that I really like in my tortellini salads is a cucumber. I'm probably only gonna need half of this cucumber today, but this is a veggie that I usually already have on hand, so I will have many different uses for it. To stick to my sort of Greek Mediterranean theme today, I'm also going to be doing some feta cheese. I got a block of feta cheese. You can also have this pre-crumbled if you like. If you went with a different theme and you're doing cherry tomatoes or sun-dried tomatoes, maybe mozzarella cheese would go really well with this. Again, it just adds additional nutrition to help keep us fuller a little bit longer. And with something like feta, it also adds really nice taste. So once you have your tortellini, you have your 3 to 4 veggies or mix-ins, you pick out your cheese, you're also gonna wanna have some kind of dressing. With these, I usually try to pick some kind of vinaigrette or Italian dressing. I found this fun dressing, this lemon basil vinaigrette, in my grocery store, so I'm gonna give it a try. It seems to fit the theme very nicely. And lastly, just to add a little crunchy texture, I'm going to add some croutons on top. I will add them just like I do in previous videos. I will add them as I serve, so that way we can keep that nice crunch of the crouton. For equipment today, we are going to need a pot to cook our tortellini and some kind of strainer, any kind of cutting board, and a small to medium knife to cut our cucumber if you are using those, or if you have another veggie that you need to cut. And lastly, a large mixing bowl. This is where we're going to mix all of the salad ingredients together. I really like this mixing bowl because it has a lid. So once my salad is all mixed together, I will actually just put it in its container, pop it in the refrigerator, and then serve it when I'm ready. To get started, I'm gonna fill this pot about halfway with water, so that way I can start the boiling process and cook my tortellini. Okay, I have my pot with water on high heat. I'm gonna wait for that to start to bubble a little bit, and then I'm gonna put my tortellini in it. The best part about tortellini compared to other pastas is it has a much shorter cooking time. Mine only requires 4 minutes in boiling water, and then I can drain it immediately. So once we do that, we will set it aside and allow it to cool for the salad. While we're waiting for that, I'm going to prepare my other ingredients. For our jarred and canned products, we can go ahead and open those and drain it. This is a recipe I really enjoy doing with a lot of my clients because I get to hear all of the unique ways that they prefer to make this. I have a client who really likes the marinade that's already in the artichokes and will use that as the dressing of the salad, which I think is genius. Since I already bought a dressing, I'm gonna pour it out. Set those aside. Now my red peppers. If you don't plan to use all of your jarred veggies for the salad, you don't have to dump out all of the liquid. You can just dump out however much you plan on using. Great. Next, my olives. As with any canned good, I'm just going to rinse off the lid before I open it. And drain it as well. Now I can open my block of cheese. There's just something about a fresh block of cheese that I feel like just adds a little bit more fun. Now for my cucumber, I'm going to give it a little rinse. Like I said, I'm only gonna use half for today, so I'm just gonna cut this in half and I will put this up for later. I'm going to cut the back end of it off and then give it a slice down the middle, lengthwise like this. So that way I have two flat surfaces to work with. It just makes cutting a little bit easier. And then I'm gonna want these to be into bite-sized pieces. The shortcut I'm gonna use to do this is I'm going to cut it a few more times lengthwise, maybe into 4 or 5 slices like that. See my different slices, and then turn it the other way around and then cut it all the way through like that. And then I have my bite-sized chunks. This is a perfect stopping point because my water is starting to boil. So I'm gonna take this tortellini and add it to the pot. Once it's in there, I like to give it a good stir. Now, don't forget to set those timers for that tortellini. Depending on how long yours says, it's a really quick process. So while we're preparing everything else, it's really easy to forget. So once that timer goes off, we'll find another stopping point. For now, let's start adding our ingredients to our bowl. First round of cucumbers. Then we will cut them again, a few times lengthwise. And then turning it the other way, cut the other direction into chunks. And then add to the bowl. Next, I am going to do my roasted red peppers that are slightly drained. I don't really measure here, I just kind of add what looks fine. And then if I want to add more later, I will. Now my artichoke hearts. I really like artichokes, so I am going to put them all in there. They also make such a good snack. If you're ever doing like a cheese and cracker plate, having some marinated artichokes on there is a really good combination. And next is the sliced olives. I was able to get a small can of these, so I just added them all in there. Give them a little mix. You can see how it is coming together very nicely. Just looking at this mixture, I know that I'm gonna want more roasted red bell peppers, so I'm just gonna add some more. Okay, I have about 30 seconds left on my timer, so I am gonna wait for that and drain my pasta. Now, as you drain your pasta of all of that hot water, a quick and easy way to cool it off is to run it under cold water and continue to drain. I'm gonna do that a few times just to help speed up the process a little bit. Okay, I rinsed it off with cold water maybe 4 or 5 times, and you can kind of feel in there, it's very cool to the touch. Once you have all of the water drained out, you can add it to your mixture. Then give it a nice stir. Look at all these great colors. Now I didn't forget about my cheese, so I'm gonna take some of my feta, just kind of grab off a chunk of it from my block here, and then just crumble it over top. This is another eyeballing situation, so you can put in however much you want. I try to keep them in bigger chunks so that way I can get that nice feta cheese flavor as I'm eating it. Give that another stir. As you're mixing, this is the best time to kind of see if there's any other ingredients you want to add or anything you want to add more of. But I think this looks great so far. The last thing I'm going to do before we serve our bowls is pour some dressing over top. I like to do this because I think that the flavors marinate really well overnight, and sometimes this mixture can even be better the next day. You just want to be careful not to put too much to it because it could get a little soupy and soggy. So just add a little bit just for some flavor, and then when you serve it individually, you could always add more. Perfect. Mix it up one last time. Now grab your bowl and fill it up with a good combination of each ingredient. Okay, so like I said, I actually like to sprinkle a little bit of croutons on here. It's kind of like a crispy breadcrumb topping, but with croutons, because it's easier. Kind of like this. So you can see here, I have my croutons, I have a little bit of veggies, and my tortellini. Now for the best part, let's give it a try. So good, wow. I can taste the flavor of everything individually and it mixes so well. One thing I did forget to do, add in some more dressing. So let's do that. There we go. I knew I was forgetting something. Wow, that dressing is so good. It's got a nice fresh flavor, very delicious. And like I said, these leftovers sitting in that dressing will marinate over time. So with each leftover, it actually gets more flavorful. And if your mixing bowl has a lid, you can easily just pop it into the refrigerator and you are good to go. I would love to hear if you made any changes or maybe you went with an entirely different theme altogether. Let me know in the comments below. But either way, thank you so much for cooking with me today and I will see you next time.